You watched some wrestling this week, and I watched some of it.
Well, you got an excuse, Brian. You were going to let you out of it this time because you are injured. You did have to take a day off of work to go get an MRI. You're limping around like Clubfoot McGee coming down the hallway to strangle somebody.
I was working on the 6-hour experience.
Yeah.
And I didn't know if I could add the 3-hour, a different kind of experience.
Is that like the 4-hour energy and a 6-hour experience? Anyway, you didn't get a chance to peruse Raw this past Monday night, August 28th. I did, and this is not going to be an in-depth, detailed report, but I do have some observational thoughts to make about the program. Would you like to hear them?
Yes, your observational thoughts. Is this like your interpretive dance?
Yes, I'm going to gesticulate and finger point and prissy prance and fancy dance. And they were in Memphis over there at the FedEx Forum. And by the way, the best part was not shown on the air, but during one of the commercial breaks, this was on Twitter, Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn introduced Lawler, who came out and waved at the crowd and smiled and everything. It got a giant ovation. People stood up and cheered for quite some time. I mean, it was a little over 10 years ago. He came back and got a giant ovation after he fucking died on their air. I mean, it's amazing. He beats Death's ass on a variety of occasions and comes back and gets an even bigger round of applause. He'll never not be over in Memphis and probably to any of the audience.
Nice to see him. First time I think we've seen him, other than a video he released after he first got ill, or I don't know how we phrase it.
Had a stroke, after he
had a stroke. That's right. That's what it was. But he looked good. He hadn't shaved, so it was the first time you'd seen him with some facial hair since like 1988.
It's first time I've seen him with gray facial hair since then. That time. That's the first time ever in his life. He's never had a gray hair. That's why he started shaving his chest. It was too much trouble to dye all the hair.
Why didn't they air this on TV? It was such a nice moment.
I have no fucking... They thought, well, shit. People might want to watch that. We don't want to put that on TV.
He was one of the hosts of that show for, 20 years?
I can't explain it. Well, they only had 3 hours, though. So it was a little tight on time. Anyway, the opening match was Sami Zayn and Damian Priest. And with no seconds at ringside, Priest said he's going to do this by himself. Sammy's, I'll leave Kevin out of it. And here's the thing. I'm going to talk about the match blow by blow. But it was a nice wrestling match. And here's the problem. The WWE talent, top to bottom, have better fundamentals. They're more professional. They're more serious because they take indie wrestlers and train them. And they have guidance and structure. And that can be bad, but it can also be good. In terms of the WWE, all the programs, they're too overproduced. They're synthetic. They don't have a feel that anything really violent is going on, even when it looks violent. And that anything could break loose and happen, except when Brock Lesnar is around. Then you get some danger. It's not dangerous. It's not indie-rific. The style they do is they're taking care of the athletes, but I'm not even talking about the style of wrestling as much as just the style of how they present it. So as I said, the WWE overproduced, synthetic, homogenized, and AEW is exactly the opposite. Anything can happen, even if it's not supposed to, because most of these guys don't know what the fuck they're doing. And you're watching a goddamn car wreck in front of your eyes that never stops piling up. So they're two completely different sides of the coin. And for long-term business, obviously the WWE side is much more valuable, but I think that's the problem. I think AEW gets all the people that want to see violent, legitimate, gritty wrestling, but instead they just get to see a bunch of fuck-ups over and over, constantly hurting themselves, and they kind of let that substitute. Does that make any sense, what I'm saying?
It makes some sense.
So anyway, so they had a nice match, as I said, Sammy and Priest, and then J.D. McDonough shows up at ringside and pulls Sammy's leg, and Priest hits a choke slam, 1, 2, 3. just like that. And then Priest shoved J.D. McDonough down and said, stay out of my business, and he left. And then Owens came in, and he and Sammy beat up J.D. McDonough. Yeah. Did you know that Matt Riddle and Drew McIntyre are a tag team now, but Riddle is annoying Drew already with his being him? And he basically annoys the fans and the viewers in kind of the same fashion. But Riddle's already kind of like, oh, Jesus Christ, rolling his eyes at him.
McIntyre is.
Or McIntyre is at Riddle, is what I'm trying to say. You missed The Miz. The Miz came out dressed as L.A. Knight with L.A. Knight's music and the whole 9 yards and the vest and the sunglasses. And he did L.A. Knight's promo, and it wasn't bad. As a parody of a babyface by a heel in the wrestling business, this was not bad. And then he stripped off the costume and cut his own heel promo on L.A. Knight, who he's going to be facing at Payback in like 3 days. So these have been the most underpromoted pay-per-views in the history of pay-per-view. But Miz did a good promo. I will give him a little golf clap for that. He seemed fired up. Sorry you missed it. You like him anyway.
I do, and maybe I will seek that out. Hey, quick question for you. What do you think it says, the success WWE has had for a while now with their big events, AEW coming out of Wembley? The success with no card at all built up. Is the argument, this is what wrestling could be? Just, you want to be a part of the thing and you go? I mean, is anyone arguing that these shows would have done less fans, not more fans, if things had been built up or logically laid out? Is the business model like this is the proper way now to build into a big event?
No, I think...
Leave people guessing until the last minute?
Wembley was an aberration. I don't think that the WWE is going to set any records with this pay-per-view this weekend. And I don't suggest that... also, to be honest, whoever buys the AEW pay-per-view this weekend in Chicago, we're going to find out what the fucking bottom number is of who's going to order AEW pay-per-views just because it's AEW. Wembley was an outlier in that, as we've said, the fans made it an event. Just because they were going to be there, just because it was going to be in that building, just because it was the first time they'd ever been in that country. Then it became a gathering thing and a travel thing for all those fans. You can't do that on a regular basis or in a place where you've been before, or whether it's no big deal to go to the arena itself, or all the conditions were right for that. No, I still believe to get people excited about something, to watch it, to purchase it, to stream it, to do whatever, they've got to know what it is, and they have to be interested in it. And I don't know whether they'd have done any less in Wembley if they'd have known the card ahead of time or not. They certainly wouldn't have done any more. It wasn't I don't think a benefit, the card to the show, but I don't think they would have done any less because of those conditions. But in another time, in another place, without the same context, I don't think it's a good idea to just say, buy these high-priced tickets and we'll give you a good card. Trust us.
But like if AEW turns around and they say this ended up doing much better than we thought, 150,000 buys coming after the weekend of the other pay-per-view, Labor Day weekend, does that encourage more of this? Or does that make them stop and say, maybe we should try to make things more logical. We can make things bigger. That's the problem.
Or just space them out, or tell people what they're going to see, or have a plan. I mean, again, there's no reason you can't promote two events in the same week on television in two completely different countries, and the matches in Wembley could have had an effect. And I know some of them are starting to have an effect, but I'm talking about you could have announced it at the start. MJF or Adam Cole will defend the AEW title against so-and-so. Blah, blah, blah. But, I don't see how they can do 150,000 buys for a pay-per-view after people have just bought the goddamn allegedly biggest show of all time, and 7 days later they want you to buy another one, and they're just going to start telling you what you're going to see after you've already spent the money last weekend. That's just, I know these people are dedicated, but how much money does a motherfucker have?
Raw rolls on.
So anyway, the Vikings wrestled the New Day while Drew and Riddle were watching at ringside. And one of the Vikings ran Kofi into Riddle and Drew in their laps, and everybody took a bump. So Drew got up and started throwing chairs and threw one and hit fucking Woods in the head with it and sent him to the trainer's room. And then the Vikings leveled McIntyre and beat Kofi. And by the way, that match went through the 9 o'clock hour, in case you're wondering. And then the Judgment Day was in the back. Finn and Priest are continuing to argue over JD Funko Pop. And I just made note that Priest is really good at this. He speaks, he's got a man's voice, and he's got inflection and delivery. But then Rhea jumped in and told him, basically, get your shit together. Because I don't want to hear this. Me and Dom have our shit together. I'm tired of hearing you guys natter at each other. She was the best promo in the group. I'm nominating Rhea Ripley for the new leader of Judgment Day if they kick Damian Priest out. Then they did the video tribute to Bray Wyatt, which was an incredible piece of work, but we talked about it on SmackDown. It was the same one. And then that's where Woods is hurt in the trainer's room, but Kofi comes out and says, I'm not mad at you, Drew. And they shake hands, and then Drew says he's mad at the Vikings. So the guy's carelessness hospitalized Kofi's partner, but he can't get mad about it. And then here came the Imperium. And Gunther does the deal where he stands up on the announce desk and cuts the promo. And Gunther's bone of contention is that the first man to beat him in over 500 days was Chad Gable, but he did it by countout. He didn't pin him. Gunther's still the champion, but Gable accomplished one thing. He pissed me off. And tonight, Chad Gable will not beat Kaiser Wilhelm over here, right? And suddenly Shoosh interrupts. And here comes Chad and Otis and Model Girl. And as I mentioned, his wrestling is great. And the people are taken to him now, but I hate the gimmick. And the problem becomes, now it's just that people are liking it when the annoying little funny fuck that goes Shoosh shows up and Shooshes Gunther, the pompous heel. That's funny. We can laugh at that. The Rock did comedic things, but they didn't laugh at the little funny guy. And a lot of people can pull off doing comedic things, but when this guy has been presented as this for so long, and then they're reminding people of it while they're trying to use him seriously against Gunther, he's wrestling seriously now, but he's acting like he's 9 years old. So anyway, next week it's going to be Chad and Gunther for the Intercontinental title, so we got to watch that.
No stipulation or anything?
Not that I heard.
Not that I want a stipulation, but just in terms of time limit or anything?
Yes, no, just for the title. But in the meantime, they had Chad versus Kaiser Wilhelm here, and I like both those guys. Both guys can work. But it's the presentation, not only that I mentioned in the first match, but also that both of them have been presented as flunkies. And this match went through 2 breaks. And finally, Gable Germaned the guy, and Da Vinci, the other stooge, came in, DQ. It's the same fucking thing as they did 30 minutes ago, right? And then Otis came in. They got in a big fight. The heels kicked the shit out of Gable. Gunther got in and went for a power bomb, and Gable rolled through it into an ankle lock. But then the heel stooges break that up, and Gunther power bombs him. And he's laying, and they leave. So it's like watching the same thing over and over. Then the Bob Barker RIP video was some of his highlights, general managing Raw or whatever back in the day, But Michael Cole, I believe it was.
They edited Jericho out of that. How about that?
Well, and you know what? Jericho pitched a fit on Twitter. Well, how dare they edit me?
Did he really? I didn't see that.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
That just go. It's something like no. One of the fans said, "How dare they edit Jericho out?" And he retweeted it and said pettiness or something like that. The fucking guy's 100 years old. He's a beloved TV star. He dies, and all Jericho's worried about is whether he gets in the fucking video or not.
Come on down.
Go back on up. But the comment by Michael Cole was Bob Barker. This is a quote. I wrote this down. Bob Barker encapsulated the fun spirit of what WWE is all about.
He got sued for sexual harassment a bunch of times. He sure did.
I didn't even think about that.
Diane Parkinson says he reminds me of Vince.
But just that statement, the fun spirit of what we're all about, the fun, laugh at us. We're not about getting heat on the heels so the people want to kill them so they can see the baby face fucking get even. And we're not fucking presenting violence and emotion and retribution and betrayal and revenge. It's the fun spirit of what WWE is all about. No wonder nobody watches any of this shit anymore, anywhere. So then you missed the entrance of Michael P.S. Hayes. Michael P.S. Hayes makes a big music intro. Oh, wait, hold on. I'm being told it was Seth Franklin Rollins.
God damn it, you got me.
He came and his hair looked like Michael's when he had he'd bleached it too much and hadn't put on enough conditioner. It was all out everywhere. And he's got the fucking suit on and he's dancing and prancing and cackling and singing. And then he's doing the promo. There's a world title match at Payback with him versus Shaky Nakamura. Seriously. And while Seth is doing the promo, the VTR pops up on the screen of Nakamura, and he's exercising and working out and training at the martial arts. The video made him look better than he does in person. And he was speaking a voiceover with English subtitles. And so then when that was over, Seth kept doing the promo until Shaky showed up looking like a bum under an overpass and laid him out. And stood there and then left. Again, if Nakamura's not 50, he looks every bit of it. And can anybody buy him as a credible challenger for the world title with his unscintillating performances that he's given up to this point?
I think you tend to not like him a little more than the average fan.
What am I missing?
I also don't think Seth Rollins is all that scintillating as a world champion. I don't consider him a world champion. He doesn't.
I didn't say we were dealing with goddamn, Luthez here.
I heard, and I didn't see it, that the video last week on Raw that they did with Nakamura was really good, but I didn't see it. I didn't see this either. I'm not interested in this match less because of Nakamura, more because of Rollins and his wild and crazy guy gimmick.
I think it's a double whammy for me. But we'll move on.
Rollins became the Americanized Nakamura. So it's like watching like the original version.
Nakamura comes out with the music and he's twitching and having an epileptic seizure. And then here comes Seth with different music. He's doing the same thing. I see where you're going with that. Well, anyway, speaking of ringers, Owens and Zayn were in the back and they're tired of the Judgment Day. I'll have you know. And they have asked for and been granted a match official for Payback. So they are announcing this match in a pre-tape on the Monday before the Saturday of the show. A Steel City street fight. Anything goes. No DQ. Lazy booking. With Owens and Zayn against the Judgment Day.
They're in Pittsburgh, I hope.
They're in Pittsburgh. That's why Steel City.
Well,
yeah, they actually asked me, what do they call Pittsburgh? Because they're these two Canucks. They don't know. They've only got aluminum foil up in Canada. And Owens was more pissed at Judgment Day than the fans, I think, are. Here in this one. And then a match that I would have said I would like to see. Tommaso Ciampa versus Bronson Reed. And Tommaso's coming to the ring. Reed jumps him in the aisleway. Tommaso fights back and kicks Reed's ass. And then they go to the break cold without even mentioning it. And the match had never started. So you're like, was that it? And then when they come back, the match is in progress. And I swear to God, it's like, how many? Again, the heel jumps the babyface. The babyface comes back and beats his ass. Then they come back in the match. And Reed's getting heat. And then Ciampa makes a comeback and picks up Reed and hits his fucking finish on him. The white noise thing that Sheamus does, right? And it was a 2 count. And then Reed just took back over on the babyface again. And they slowed it down. And then suddenly out of nowhere, Ciampa leaped up and got him in a crucifix. Grapevine to his arm on one side and his other arm with the legs and hit it perfect and took him over and then lost him on the cover. But the referee counted anyway. 1, 2, 3. That was it. You could do something with both of these guys, but apparently they don't want to. They're kind of in the spot on the card where the only people they can beat is each other.
Sounds like I missed a lot.
You missed Rhea and Dominic doing a live interview in the ring, with Rhea cutting a promo on Raquel Rodriguez Gonzalez de Molina Jr. That Rhea Ripley is not only one of the better female promos in the business, she's one of the better promos in the business. And the only question I had was, when are we going to lose her to Hollywood? Will she be able to become a wrestling Hall of Famer before the movies take her away? And then here came Raquel and kicked Rhea Ripley's ass. And she was distracted by Dominic so Rhea could take over, but she came back on Rhea and kicked her ass again. And the heels bailed out and left. Do you notice a pattern here?
I do. I didn't see this, but I just want to say this in general. Rhea Ripley, who's one of the top 5 talents in the entire business, man or woman, her selling, when you said she got her ass kicked, I could visualize in my head Rhea bumping off Raquel. Her facial expressions while she's selling, she's so good.
I'm looking forward to seeing the match to see what Ripley does with it. Raquel is big. She's got good size. She's not the smoothest talent on the roster, but I think Ripley can do something with it. Then they did the Terry Funk tribute video again. And guess what the main event was of Monday Night Raw after we sat through 2 hours and 40 minutes of what I've just told you about?
The main event, didn't you tell me already? It was,
No, I didn't.
Oh. Becky Lynch has not been on the show. Is it Becky Lynch?
Yeah.
Do I win? Is that enough? Do I win?
No, tell me what the main event was. Don't tell me one person that was in it.
She didn't work with Trish. She wouldn't work with... had to be Zoe Stark.
You are correct. Falls count anywhere in the arena. No,
it wasn't. No.
Anything goes. Lazy booking.
I did not know that either.
And as soon as it started, they went under the ring and pulled out kendo sticks before the bell even rang. And I said, I am out of here. I've seen enough garbage wrestling from the guys to not have to watch garbage wrestling from the girls this week. So in the process of zipping through to see if anything, certainly I said that couldn't be the main event, but it was, so I gave up on it. But they had chairs and they were in the arena and they had the kendo sticks and the blah, blah, blah. And all that stuff is what happened. That was Raw.
Well, that was Raw, and that's enough of Raw. Jim, before we move on from WWE, though, you want to preview, because I don't even know the card, Payback, which is, What day is this?
Well, we're talking now on Thursday afternoon, and Payback is Saturday night, so we better get to moving. We better review before it happens.
All right, this is the card that's announced so far according to Wikipedia. Let me just see if there's anything actually on WWE.com. Oh, here we go. Premiere shows, Payback. This is a real clunky layout. All right, let's go back to Wikipedia, ladies and gentlemen.
So, and again, another of the modern day problems. If you want to know what the card is for a major wrestling pay-per-view or premium live event, you have to go to Wikipedia because the promotion itself is not trying hard enough to tell you.
All right, well, in a steel cage match, Becky Lynch versus Trish Stratus.
Well, we've been waiting for this for quite some time, haven't we? I'm pretty sure this was probably going to be where Becky, emerges triumphant. And I would think Trish came back for a limited run after she's been retired this long. So are they going to transition maybe to Becky and Zoe? And Zoe can carry the banner for Trish or whatever. But I think we should bet on Becky in this one, don't you?
You would think, unless this is continuing until Survivor Series or until
how are they going to get after a fucking cage? After then they're going to have a War Games with just Becky against Trish, or
I'd watch
exploding ring.
Well, we will see what happens. Zoe Stark. I don't know if the steel cage, depending on what kind of cage, or if there are remote controls like Ole Anderson had for RoboCop. We'll see what happens. For the World Heavyweight Championship, the champion Seth Franklin Rollins versus Shinsuke Nakamura.
Well, I just kind of let my feelings be known when we were talking about the segment on Raw. But again, Seth is one of the biggest stars in the company. I recognize that. I know he's trying real hard to make the world title number 3 seem like something, but everybody views Roman Reigns as the champion in the WWE. And then Nakamura, this is just to run, he's a tomato can to run Seth Rollins' record up, to defend the thing over and over so that it might someday turn into a real title Pinocchio. But in the meantime, geez, I don't want to see this match because I'd never want to see Nakamura, because the only thing I think when I see him is, my God, will Japanese grandfather get hurt? He looks frail. He looks sickly. He looks infirm. I don't get it.
Well, Jim, the next match, I don't think he looks that bad, but the next match for the Women's World Championship, the champion Rhea Ripley versus Raquel Rodriguez.
I thought it was one of the other women's titles. Well, and we just talked about that on the segment on Raw also. Raquel Gonzalez has size. She's impressive. She can move Ripley around. She's not as smooth as maybe she will be one day with a little bit more experience, but Ripley is so good that I can't wait to see what she does with this and how they put it together, and what Rhea does to make the thing, because part of Ripley's appeal is that she is bigger and can move the other girls around and etc. But in this case, they may want to see her get a taste of her own medicine. Can Raquel Gonzalez hold her end up? We shall see. I predict also a Rhea Ripley victory.
For the WWE United States Championship, the champion Rey Mysterio versus Austin Theory.
Oh, and is every match for a title?
No, the next match is a singles match.
Well, thank God. I would love to say they're going to put it back on Theory, but I don't think they're going to do that. I think they're saving this for whatever's going to go on with Mysterio and Escobar, which is yet to be determined. So I think that Rey will retain, Escobar will be involved in some fashion, and hopefully won't make Theory look too bad in the process.
In a big singles match, L.A. Knight versus The Miz.
Okay. I'm actually interested in a Miz match, because this thing, it's going to tear the house down, because they're going to be into L.A. Knight. Both guys are going to probably be working hard. L.A. Knight because he's trying to get over, and Miz because he's trying to prove a point. And I bet they'll do something interesting, and I predict an L.A. Knight victory, because that's the one thing. There's not much doubt Miz has been beaten by everybody in the company except the cameraman, and I'm wondering about whether that was just the cameraman probably did it, but there was nobody to film it.
And finally, Jim, in a Steel City street fight for the undisputed WWE Tag Team Championship, the champions Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn versus the Judgment Day, Finn Balor and Damian Priest.
Anything goes. No disqualification. Lazy booging. Again, it's going to be a nice tag team match. Owens and Zayn are over. this is obviously going to be, I would think, be Priest and Finn representing the Judgment Day, which will then lead to JD Funko Pop probably being involved. And I expect Zayn and Owens to retain in this instance.
And that is the full lineup for WWE Payback. Obviously, no Roman Reigns or Bloodline. That is SmackDown only, I guess.
Well, people are going to be saving their money for the following night.